People keep saying, I just want to be happy, but they never stop to ask, what does that even mean? They chase money, status, followers, thinking happiness is something to be collected. But happiness isn't a thing, bro. It's not an item on sale. It's a state of mind. You can buy comfort, yes. You can buy distraction, sure. But you can't buy peace. The Stoics knew this long ago. They said, you suffer not because you lack things, but because you want too many things. Happiness doesn't come when you get what you want. It comes when you stop needing everything. Look around. Everyone's smiling on Instagram, but crying in silence. We pretend to be okay because the world told us happiness means showing teeth. We think a new phone will fix the emptiness. We think a new relationship will fix our loneliness. But guess what? The problem isn't outside. You can change your city, your job, your partner. But if your mind's still chaotic, your sadness will pack its bags and follow you. Epictetus said, you are disturbed not by things, but by your opinion about things. Bro, it's not the world that hurts you. It's your own lens that's dirty. The Stoics looked at life and said, let's stop demanding it to be perfect. Because the more you demand perfection, the more you suffer. You want the weather to behave, people to always agree, and luck to always smile. But that's not life. Life is messy. The Stoic smiles not because everything's good, but because he knows how to stay calm when it's not. That's real happiness, not constant pleasure, but steady peace in the middle of chaos. You know why you're not happy? Because you keep comparing. You see someone younger making more money, someone prettier getting more attention, and you think, why not me? The Stoics would laugh, bro. They'd say, why are you fighting the nature of the world? There will always be someone above and below you. If your happiness depends on being better, you'll never rest. Because the ladder of comparison, it never ends. Here's the Stoic secret. Happiness equals control over yourself. You can't control the weather, traffic, or people's opinions, but you can control your response. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, but he still said, the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. Imagine that, the most powerful man in Rome reminding himself to stay calm. If he can't control everything, what makes you think you can? Freedom isn't about doing whatever you want. It's about not being a slave to your emotions. The real enemy isn't your boss, your ex, or your parents. It's your own mind that keeps replaying pain like a broken record. You lose once in real life, then 100 more times in your head. That's not life punishing you, that's you punishing yourself. Stoics practiced something called premeditatio malorum, imagining the worst before it happens. Not to be negative, but to remind themselves, I can handle it. That's power, bro. Facing the storm inside, before it arrives outside. Modern life sells pleasure as happiness, but they're not the same thing. Pleasure is a spark, happiness is a flame. One burns fast, the other lasts long. You scroll, eat, shop, binge, chasing quick highs. But the Stoics called that slavery. You become a servant to your cravings. Real happiness doesn't shout, it whispers. It's the calm after you've stopped chasing. It's the smile when nothing exciting happens, but you still feel okay. The Stoic doesn't resist what he can't change. He adapts. When life punches him, he doesn't ask, why me? He says, why not me? That's not weakness, that's wisdom. When you stop arguing with reality, you stop bleeding twice. Epictetus was a slave, yet he said he was free. Why? Because he mastered himself. Acceptance isn't giving up, bro. It's moving forward without bitterness. Happiness isn't a one-time enlightenment. It's a habit. The Stoics journaled every night, asking, what did I do well today? What can I do better tomorrow? They trained their mind like athletes train their body. Because calmness isn't natural, it's practiced. You can't be wise in crisis if you never practice calm and peace. Start small, breathe before reacting, pause before judging, and reflect before sleeping. That's how you build inner armor. A Stoic smile isn't loud or fake. It's quiet, like someone who knows something the world forgot. They don't chase happiness, they embody it. Because happiness, to them, isn't fireworks, it's a steady candle in the dark. They know storms will come, people will fail them, and life will break their plans. But as long as they hold their center, no chaos can steal their peace. That's the Stoic smile, calm, steady, unbothered. Because they've finally learned, nothing external can shake an internal fortress. People love to believe in the fantasy of a perfect life, that somewhere out there, if you just make enough money, or meet the right person, or move to the right city, everything will finally click. But here's the truth, bro, life never clicks. It hums, it glitches, it stumbles. You'll always fix one problem and discover two new ones. The Stoics laughed at the idea of a perfect life, because they knew perfection is just marketing. Life isn't supposed to be smooth. It's supposed to challenge you. Marcus Aurelius buried his children, fought wars, faced betrayal, yet he wrote, "You can be happy if you make the right use of your reason." He didn't wait for life to be easy. He learned to stay upright when it wasn't. That's the Stoic way. Stop waiting for peace to arrive. Be the one who brings it, wherever you are. You know what's funny? We talk about control all the time, yet most of life is uncontrollable. Your job, temporary. Your health, fragile. Your loved ones, borrowed time. And yet, you stress like you own the universe. When things fall apart, you panic, but the Stoic doesn't. He expects it. He rehearses it. Not to be dark, but to be ready. Seneca said, "What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears." Bro, that's not pessimism. That's preparation. If you accept that loss is part of the package, you stop taking peace for granted. So when chaos hits, you don't break, you bend. You say, "Ah, yes, it's this chapter now." And you move forward, calmly, with grace. Our modern world worships pleasure like a god, but the Stoics knew, pleasure is a liar. It promises happiness, but delivers dependency. You think scrolling, drinking, or buying things will fill the hole, but every time you feed it, it grows. The Stoics didn't reject pleasure, they just refused to be ruled by it. Seneca said, "We suffer more from desire than from lack." Think about that, bro. You're not sad because you don't have something. You're sad because you can't stop wanting it. The Stoics' trick is simple. Enjoy what's there. Don't crave what's not. Eat when you're hungry. Sleep when you're tired. Smile when it's sunny. That's it. Pleasure becomes happiness only when you stop needing it to last. Expectations. Man's most elegant poison. You expect people to understand you, life to reward you, and the world to be fair. And when it's not, you break. But the Stoic says, stop expecting the world to fit your plans. Fit your plans to the world. Epictetus was born a slave. He didn't expect comfort, yet he found peace. Because expectation is the mother of disappointment. The moment you demand things to go your way, you surrender your peace to randomness. The Stoic expects nothing, so everything feels like a gift. When someone is kind, he smiles. When they're cruel, he studies. That's the art, bro. Low expectations, high gratitude. When a Stoic faces hardship, he doesn't say, "Why me?" He says, "Why not me?" Because he knows pain isn't personal, it's universal. You can't run from storms. You learn to stand in the rain. Seneca once wrote, "Fire tests gold, adversity tests brave men." And that's it. Your pain is a classroom. Every insult, every setback, every heartbreak, it's training your soul. The modern man avoids discomfort, but the Stoic embraces it because he knows, comfort never built character. Growth lives in the cold water, not in the warm bath. When you stop begging for an easy life, and start training for a strong one, happiness starts to respect you. You ever notice how your inner voice can be your worst enemy? You lose your keys, and suddenly your brain says, "You're so stupid." You make one mistake, and the voice screams, "You'll never succeed." Bro, that's not the world talking, that's you. The Stoics taught us to challenge that voice. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The Stoic trains his thoughts like a soldier polishes his sword. Because the battle isn't outside, it's inside. You can't have happiness if your mind keeps bullying you. So next time that voice starts, smile and say, "Not today." You're not your thoughts, you're the one observing them. Love, for the Stoic, isn't about possession, it's about presence. You don't own people, bro. You share time with them. The Stoic loves deeply but lightly. He knows everything he loves will one day be gone. That's why he loves harder now. Epictetus said, "When you kiss your child, remind yourself that you kiss a mortal." Sounds harsh. No, it's real. The Stoic doesn't love less to avoid pain. He loves more because he knows pain will come. True love isn't desperate. It's grateful. You stop clinging and start appreciating. That's not coldness. That's wisdom wrapped in warmth. You want instant happiness. Gratitude, bro. It's that simple. Not flashy. Not complicated. Just gratitude. The Stoics practiced it daily. Seneca said, "Nothing is more honorable than a grateful heart." Gratitude flips the lens. You stop asking, "Why don't I have this?" and start asking, "What do I already have?" It turns ordinary mornings into miracles. You woke up, you're breathing, you're still here. That's a blessing people in hospitals would trade everything for. Gratitude doesn't make life easier, it makes it enough. And when life feels enough, that's the closest thing to happiness you'll ever find. Everything you hold will eventually leave you, things, people, even your own youth. And yet, you cling. You fight the flow of time, like it owes you something. But the Stoic doesn't cling, he releases. Not because he's numb, but because he's wise. He knows the more you hold, the heavier it gets. Happiness, he says, isn't found in holding tighter, but in letting lighter. When you stop gripping life like it's running away, you start to feel peace sneaking back in. You don't own moments, you experience them. You don't keep happiness, you flow with it. At the end of all Stoic teaching lies one word: stillness. Not the absence of noise, but the presence of peace. The Stoic doesn't chase excitement, he cultivates calm. He could sit alone in a room and still feel full, because happiness doesn't come from movement, it comes from meaning. Stillness is strength disguised as silence. It's the quiet confidence that says, whatever happens, I'll be okay. The Stoic doesn't escape life, he embraces it fully, then lets go gracefully. That's real freedom. That's real joy. Happiness, finally, isn't something you find. It's something you stop losing. You can't talk about happiness without talking about resilience, bro. Because life will test you. That's a promise, not a threat. The Stoic doesn't avoid pain, he absorbs it, studies it, and grows from it. Seneca said, difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. That's the Stoic gym. Pain is the dumbbell. When things go wrong, the average person says, this shouldn't happen. The Stoic says, of course it should. This is life. You don't become strong by wishing for comfort. You become strong by standing tall when comfort leaves. The Stoic doesn't ask for fewer problems, he asks for stronger shoulders. That's resilience, not pretending life is fine, but saying, even if it's not, I'll be fine. Some days, bro, the world feels like a weight pressing on your chest. Bills, deadlines, heartbreaks, it piles up, and people will say, stay positive. But the Stoic doesn't fake positivity, he practices perspective. He looks at the weight and asks, what part of this is under my control? If the answer is, none, he lets it drop. If the answer is, some, he lifts only that. Happiness dies under the illusion of total control. You don't have to carry everything, just your part. Marcus Aurelius carried an empire but knew the truth: the universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it. So, when life feels heavy, don't fight the whole load. Just move one stone at a time. That's Stoic strength. Ego whispers that happiness means being admired, envied, praised. But the Stoic laughs at that voice, because ego is a fragile mirror. It cracks every time someone disagrees with you. The Stoic doesn't need applause to feel enough. He already is. Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Imagine that, finding peace even when people mock you. That's freedom. The moment your happiness depends on validation, you hand your peace to strangers. Ego wants to be right, wisdom wants to understand. Ego wants to win, wisdom wants to grow. The Stoic chooses peace over pride every time, because nothing disturbs the calm more than a bruised ego. We humans love control, or at least the illusion of it. We schedule, plan, predict, and panic when it doesn't go our way. But the Stoics divide the world in two: what's up to us, and what's not. That's it. Your thoughts, choices, and actions, yours. Everything else, not yours. The weather, other people, the economy, not yours. Happiness begins when you stop trying to manage the unmanageable. Seneca wrote, he who suffers before it is necessary, suffers more than is necessary. Half your misery, bro, comes from rehearsing problems that haven't even happened. The Stoic doesn't fight the river, he swims with it. That's not weakness, that's wisdom in motion. Everyone wants happiness, but no one wants discipline, and that's the irony. Because without discipline, you're just a slave to impulse. The Stoic trains his body, his words, his thoughts. He knows freedom isn't doing whatever you feel like. It's doing what's right even when you don't feel like it. Marcus Aurelius woke up early every day and wrote, at dawn, when you rise unwillingly, remember, to act according to nature is to do good for others. That's discipline, serving purpose over comfort. Modern life says, follow your feelings. The Stoic says, lead them. Happiness follows structure, bro. You don't meditate once and become calm forever. You practice daily, like sharpening a blade. Happiness loves routine, not because it's boring, but because it's grounding. The Stoics had rituals, reflections, silence. They understood that the mind, left alone, becomes a noisy room, so they swept it daily. A routine isn't prison, it's peace. You wake, write, breathe, reflect, same actions, new awareness. Seneca said, nothing is ours, except time. Yet we waste it like it's endless. The Stoic protects his time like a sacred temple, because every hour spent in chaos is an hour stolen from calm. The goal isn't to escape life, but to anchor within it. That's what routine does. It builds a home inside your mind. Criticism cuts deep, we all know that. But the Stoic sees criticism as information, not injury. When someone insults him, he doesn't explode. He asks, is it true? If yes, he learns. If no, he laughs. Epictetus said, if anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, Do not make excuses about what is said, but answer, he does not know my other faults. Else he would not have mentioned only these. That's Stoic humor, bro. You don't owe your peace to anyone's opinion. The more you react, the more you hand them control. So next time someone throws words your way, don't catch them. Let them fall. The echo of your calm will be louder than their noise. Failure isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. The Stoic doesn't fear failure, he studies it, because every time you fall, you learn where the ground is. Seneca said, "The man who has made a mistake and doesn't correct it is making another mistake." Failure isn't shameful, stagnation is. The Stoic knows happiness doesn't mean always winning, but always improving. When you fail, you don't lose your worth, you just gain data. The Stoic rewrites the meaning of failure. It's feedback from reality. And that's beautiful, bro. Because once you stop fearing failure, you start living honestly, without the mask, without the fear of being seen as not enough. We live in a world that worships noise, notifications, opinions, arguments, everyone's talking, no one's listening. But the Stoic withdraws, not to escape, but to recharge. Marcus Aurelius wrote about finding a quiet refuge within. That's where happiness hides, not in likes, not in approval, but in that small, silent room inside you. Turn down the world, and you'll hear your own soul again. Silence isn't emptiness, it's clarity. The Stoic's peace is portable. He carries it everywhere. Because when you master silence, bro, you can walk through chaos without losing your rhythm. Stoics never said, don't feel. They said, don't drown. Emotions are waves. Reason is the shore. You can surf them, or you can sink. Happiness isn't being emotionless. It's knowing which emotions deserve your energy. The Stoic feels deeply but responds wisely. Anger visits. He listens, then lets it leave. Joy comes. He enjoys, but doesn't cling. That's balance. Epictetus taught, when something happens, don't seek to change it, but see what you can learn from it. That's the difference between reaction and reflection. Modern life teaches emotional chaos. The Stoic teaches emotional rhythm. And in that rhythm, calm, controlled, deeply human, happiness finally breathes. Most people confuse love with possession. My house, my car, my partner. The Stoic smiles at that word, my, because nothing in this world truly belongs to you, not even your own body. One day, everything you hold will return to the flow of time. Epictetus said, never say about anything, I have lost it, but I have returned it. Bro, that's heavy, but also freeing. You don't lose what was never yours to keep. Detachment doesn't mean you stop loving. It means you love without chains. You give without keeping score. You appreciate without trying to freeze the moment. The less you cling, the more you enjoy. Because happiness isn't holding tight, it's holding gently. Everything fades, the sunset, the laughter, the youth in your face. But instead of mourning it, the Stoic celebrates it. Because impermanence makes things precious. If nothing ended, nothing would matter. Marcus Aurelius wrote, loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight. Think about that, bro. The universe isn't broken, it's evolving. Every goodbye makes room for a new hello. You cry when something ends, but life has been whispering, this was always part of the deal. The Stoic doesn't fight time, he dances with it. Happiness isn't about freezing the beautiful moments. It's about noticing them before they melt. You want to know a Stoic's secret weapon? He remembers he's going to die. Not in a dark, emo way, but as a compass. Memento mori, remember you must die. Marcus Aurelius wrote every morning knowing that today could be his last. And instead of fear, that truth gave him focus. You argue less, forgive faster, love deeper, when you realize time is short. People think death kills happiness. The Stoic says, no, it creates it. Because when you see life as temporary, every moment becomes gold. So next time you wake up, whisper to yourself, one day, I won't. Then live that day like it actually means something. Bro, the richest man isn't the one who has the most, it's the one who needs the least. The Stoics mastered the art of enough. Seneca said, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor. We live in a world that keeps whispering, more, more, more. Bigger houses, newer phones, faster everything. But happiness doesn't come from adding, it comes from subtracting. When you stop trying to fill every silence, every weekend, every shelf, you realize, peace was already there. Simplicity is power, bro. Because once you learn to be happy with little, you become untouchable. Desire screams, peace whispers. Every time you want something badly, your mind gets noisy. I'll be happy when. That phrase has destroyed more peace than any war. The Stoic deletes it. He says, I'll be happy while waiting, while working, while healing. Seneca wrote, he who is contented with what he has is rich. Desire isn't evil, but it's greedy. The more you feed it, the hungrier it gets. So the Stoic fasts, not just from food, but from craving. He tastes simplicity and finds it sweet. When the noise of desire fades, you can finally hear happiness breathing quietly in the background. Ask people what success means, they'll say money, fame, status. Ask a Stoic, and he'll say, peace of mind, because what's the use of reaching the top if your soul's still shaking? Marcus Aurelius ruled the world but still wrote like a monk. He knew success isn't about applause, it's about alignment, doing what's right, even when no one's watching. The Stoic measures wealth in tranquility. You can't buy that, bro. The world can give you trophies, but only you can give yourself rest. So maybe success isn't climbing higher, it's learning to sit still and smile. Peace often hides behind one simple word, no. The Stoic guards his attention like a king guards his crown, because every yes to nonsense is a no to clarity. Seneca said, if a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable. If you don't know what matters, everything will feel urgent. The Stoic says no to gossip, drama, and excess, not because he's cold, but because he values his sanity. Saying no isn't rejection, it's redirection. You stop chasing 100 things and start living one honest life. That's Stoic focus, quiet, firm, and free. Happiness hides in the moment, bro, but you keep missing it because your mind's stuck in yesterday or scared of tomorrow. The Stoics practice presence like a muscle. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, confine yourself to the present. That's the secret, not mindfulness apps, not retreats, just attention. When you eat, taste it. When you talk, listen. When you walk, feel your steps. The Stoic doesn't escape time, he enters it fully, because life doesn't happen in the past or future. It's happening now, in the breath you're taking as you read this. And if you miss that, you miss life itself. Pain isn't the enemy, meaninglessness is. The Stoic doesn't ask, why me? He asks, what can I learn from this? Viktor Frankl, a modern Stoic in spirit, said, those who have a why to live can bear almost anyhow. When pain hits, the Stoic doesn't drown, he dives deeper. He finds purpose in the suffering. Maybe the pain is teaching patience. Maybe it's teaching empathy. Either way, it's shaping you into someone stronger. The Stoic knows, the scar isn't ugly, it's proof you survived. And in that realization, pain transforms from a curse to a classroom. In the end, bro, happiness isn't about comfort, it's about meaning. Comfort feeds the body, but meaning feeds the soul. The Stoics built their joy not on pleasure, but on purpose. Marcus Aurelius said, a man's true delight is to do the things he was made for. So ask yourself, what were you made for? To complain, to consume, or to contribute something real? Kindness, wisdom, love. The Stoic finds happiness not by taking more from the world, but by giving more to it. Because when your life serves something greater than yourself, happiness stops being a chase and starts being your natural state. Bro, people will hurt you. That's a fact. Sometimes they'll do it by accident, sometimes because they're broken inside. But holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting them to die. The Stoic knows that forgiveness isn't for the other person, it's for your own peace. Epictetus said, when someone does you wrong, remember, they act from what they think is right. Maybe they're ignorant, maybe they're lost. Either way, their action is a reflection of their state, not your worth. Forgiving doesn't mean you approve. It means you're done carrying that fire. Because peace can't enter a heart that's already burning. Stand under the night sky and look up, bro. Billions of stars, galaxies swirling like dust, and there you are, one small human complaining about Wi-Fi. The Stoic laughs, not to mock you, but to remind you how tiny your problems are. Marcus Aurelius wrote, soon you will have forgotten everything, soon everybody will have forgotten you. That's not depressing, it's liberating. Humility doesn't mean thinking less of yourself, it means thinking of yourself less. When you see how vast the universe is, your ego shrinks and your gratitude grows. You realize, we're all just visitors here, so walk lightly, speak kindly, and don't take yourself too seriously. You ever notice, bro, how the loudest people usually have the least to say? The Stoics loved silence, not because they were shy, but because they understood that wisdom grows in quiet soil. Seneca said, silence is a lesson learned through life's many sufferings. When you're silent, you listen. You see patterns others miss. You realize not every battle needs your opinion. The Stoic speaks only when words can improve the silence. That's real strength, not the power to shout, but the courage to stay calm when the world gets noisy. In silence, the mind clears, the heart steadies, and truth whispers its way back in. Bro, being alone isn't the same as being lonely. Loneliness is emptiness, solitude is fullness. The Stoic retreats not to escape the world, but to recharge before returning to it. Marcus Aurelius said, nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. When you sit alone, you meet yourself, and that can be uncomfortable. But that's where growth begins. You realize how many of your thoughts aren't even yours, just echoes of society. Solitude filters the noise. It teaches you to stand without applause. And once you learn that, you stop fearing silence, you start needing it. Ask a Stoic what happiness is made of, and he'll answer with one word: virtue. That's their compass: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. They believe that no external event can make you happy if your character is weak. Seneca said, "No man is good by chance." Virtue takes work, choosing honesty over comfort, discipline over pleasure, compassion over revenge. It's not glamorous, but it's powerful, because virtue gives you something the world can't give or take away: integrity. And once you live by that, bro, even failure tastes clean. The Stoic doesn't aim to look good, he aims to be good. People think freedom means doing whatever you want. The Stoic smiles again, because real freedom is mastery over your wants. Discipline is the art of being your own ruler. You think it limits you, but it actually frees you from impulse, addiction, and regret. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." When you can say no to temptation, to laziness, to the easy path, that's power. The Stoic trains his mind like an athlete trains his body. Every repetition of restraint builds strength. And over time, discipline becomes joy, because it's not punishment, it's control over your destiny. Bro, the world doesn't test you to destroy you, it tests you to reveal you. When life hits hard, the Stoic doesn't ask, "Why me?" He asks, "Who am I in this storm?" Adversity is the mirror where you meet your true self. Marcus Aurelius faced war, betrayal, plague, and yet, he stayed calm. He wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." That's the Stoic alchemy, turning obstacles into fuel. You don't grow in comfort, you grow in conflict. So next time you're tested, smile. Life's just showing you the strength you forgot you had. Gratitude isn't a mood, it's a discipline. The Stoic wakes up and counts what's already good before complaining about what's not. Seneca said, "Nothing is more honorable than a grateful heart." Bro, think about it. How often do you thank your lungs for breathing, your legs for walking, your mind for thinking? We chase big happiness and ignore small miracles. Gratitude shrinks anxiety. It teaches you that abundance isn't about having more, it's about noticing more. Every time you say thank you, you remind yourself, "I already have enough." And in that moment, peace quietly takes a seat beside you. Integrity is doing the right thing even when no one's watching, especially when no one's watching. The Stoic doesn't act good for applause. He acts good because it's who he is. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." Bro, that's heavy, because talk is easy. Living it is the real work. The Stoic knows the only person he can't lie to is himself. So he checks his motives, trims his pride, and lets his actions speak. Integrity isn't loud. It doesn't trend, but it leaves a quiet power behind, the kind that builds trust, respect, and inner peace. One day, you and I will be gone. Our names will fade, our faces forgotten, but the energy we leave, the kindness, the wisdom, the example, that's our true legacy. Marcus Aurelius didn't write Meditations for fame. He wrote it for himself, and yet it became a guide for centuries. Bro, your legacy isn't what people remember about you, it's what lives through them because of you. Every small act of virtue, every moment of patience, ripples outward. So live today in a way that makes tomorrow grateful you existed. That's the Stoic's version of immortality. Bro, peace is the highest currency. You can trade your time for money, your youth for fame, but if you lose peace, you've lost everything. The Stoic knows this truth by heart. Seneca said, "A man who suffers before it is necessary, suffers more than necessary." We suffer twice, once in reality, once in imagination. We replay pain, we rehearse fear, and we call it thinking. The Stoic stops that loop. He accepts what he can't control, and focuses on what he can, his mind. Peace isn't something you find, it's something you stop disturbing. And once you learn that, bro, the world can't shake you anymore. Acceptance isn't weakness, it's wisdom. The Stoic doesn't say, "I like everything that happens." He says, "I can handle everything that happens." Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Welcome whatever comes woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs?" It's not about giving up, it's about cooperating with reality. When rain falls, you don't argue with the sky, you find an umbrella. Life's not here to please you, bro. It's here to shape you. Acceptance is the moment you stop fighting the tide and start learning how to surf. That's when peace starts to feel like power. You keep waiting to be ready, perfect, healed. But the Stoic laughs, because perfection is an illusion. Even the wisest stumble. Even Marcus doubted himself. Seneca had bad days too. The Stoic doesn't aim to be flawless, he aims to be honest, to fall and rise again, to keep walking, even when limping. Wisdom grows in cracks, bro. The broken places let the light in, so stop waiting to be perfect before you start living with purpose. The Stoic says, do it while imperfect, because the world needs your effort more than your excuses. Comparison is the thief of joy, bro, and social media is the getaway car. The Stoic knew this long before Instagram existed. He said, don't concern yourself with what others say or do, but with what you must do to keep your soul serene. Look around, everyone's chasing validation, counting likes like it's oxygen. But happiness isn't a leaderboard, it's a quiet place inside you. The Stoic doesn't compete with others. He competes with yesterday's version of himself. When you stop comparing, you stop bleeding from invisible wounds. Your worth isn't measured by attention, it's measured by peace. The world's loud, bro. Everyone's yelling, online, on TV, in your head. The Stoic doesn't escape it, he builds stillness inside it. Imagine being the eye of a storm, everything spinning, but you remain centered. Marcus Aurelius ruled during wars, plagues, betrayal, yet he wrote about tranquility. How? By remembering that chaos outside doesn't need to become chaos inside. You can't calm the storm, but you can calm yourself, and the storm loses power. Peace isn't found in a quiet world, it's built in a disciplined mind. Be the calm in the noise, and you'll become unshakable. Bro, people act like time is infinite, scrolling, arguing, wasting days like they'll get a refund later. The Stoic treats every sunrise like a bonus level. Seneca warned, it's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. You're not too young to die, you're just too distracted to live. Time isn't measured in years, it's measured in awareness. Every mindful moment is eternal, so use your time wisely, build, learn, forgive, love, because one day, your calendar will run out. The Stoic doesn't fear that, he uses it as motivation to live deliberately. You will die, I will die, everyone you love will die. But don't flinch, bro, face it. Memento mori. Remembering death isn't morbid, it's clarifying. When you know your time is limited, priorities rearrange themselves. Small annoyances vanish, gratitude expands, and love becomes urgent. Marcus Aurelius said, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say, and think. Death makes life beautiful because it ends. So don't waste it chasing approval. Live in a way that, if you died tonight, you'd be proud of how you spent your last sunrise. The Stoic doesn't preach, he converses, with himself, with the universe, with time. That's what meditations really is, a man talking to his own soul. You can do that too, bro. Ask yourself hard questions. Write down your chaos. Reflect every night, not to judge, but to understand. The Stoic journal isn't a diary, it's a mirror. Through self-dialogue, you become your own teacher. Every day you fail, reflect, and rise, you're sculpting your soul. One thought at a time, one habit at a time. That's philosophy in motion, not in books, but in breath. At the end of it all, bro, the Stoic smiles. Not because life was easy, but because he learned to live well within its storms. He faced pain with courage, joy with gratitude, death with peace. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, they all died centuries ago, but their calm still echoes. That's the gift of wisdom, it outlives the flesh. So when your time comes, don't ask, did I win? Ask, did I live with virtue, love, and awareness? If the answer's yes, then smile, because that's all the universe ever asked of you. And that, my friend, is the Stoic's version of eternal happiness.